In this tutorial, we'll be covering attributes and how they pertain to Magento. Just to give you a quick oversight on attributes and the meaning of them is to kind of show you an example of how they work in Amazon. You'll look here at an Amazon Kindle located on the Amazon website, and an attribute really details anything that has to do with that product, characteristic um, relating to that. Product name, short description, pricing, availability. These are all attributes that relate to a product. You scroll down, you'll see several. This could be features, could all be one attribute. Technical aspects that you see down here. Display, size, weight, system requirements, on-device storage. Each of these are product attributes. Now, if we take a look at to Magento, we'll see the same type of attributes set up for their products. Product name, price, availability, quick overview, like would be a short description possibly. Details, this will be your product description. In-depth is a product attribute. Megapixels, dimensions, model, and so on. Each of these are product attributes that need to be clearly defined at the start of a project so you know how you will lay out your products within the catalog. So now that you have a quick kind of understanding on what attributes are, I will go into the back end of Magento and show you how to set up these attributes. From the catalog drop-down in the admin panel, if you go to attributes, manage attributes, you will see all of the total attributes that come as default already set up in Magento. If you go to catalog manage products, you can kind of get an idea on what some of these attributes are. For the most part, you'll see SKU, you'll see name, you'll see price. Those are your typical, default Magento attributes. But everything in here that you see in the admin is a Magento attribute. Visibility, weight, manufacturer, pricing, images, descriptions. You can all lay these out to however you see fit via the admin panel. Now to set these up, if, for example, say we want to add in a new attribute, you can give it a code which does not have spaces. It's for internal use purposes only. So let's say you want to add in an attribute for color. You'll set the scope to global. Now here are some options for the inputs: text field, text area, date, yes or no, etc. A text field is going to be something that is just like this here, that it will be a field where you can put in whatever kind of text, typically a term or a sentence maybe. A text area will be something more along the lines of that will contain a paragraph, such as the short description here. And then the rest are all kind of self-explanatory. Dates will be a calendar. A yes or no would just be a drop-down with a yes or no response. Multiple select and drop-down are if you're going to have these to be filterable options. So if you're on, let's say we go into appliances on the Amazon store, you'll see these filters over here. You can search by department, by color, by brand. These are what your filters would be. So you would need to either use multiple select or drop down. The multiple select means that a product can be related to several different options. So say the product comes in 5 different colors: blue, green, yellow, orange, and gray. You could select all 5 of these. Whereas a drop down, it can only be associated with just one. So there would be, it could only be blue. So that's the difference, and these are preset values. Price, self-explanatory, image, and text. So for now, let's just do a text field. Default values, if there's going to always be a default one, if there's no options. Typically it'll be blank. Unique value, no. Values required. Some values will need to be required. For your catalog, it will be depending on how your catalog is set up. Magento needs to have a SKU. It needs to have a product name and stuff like that. You can change these in the admin, but some of those you do not want to import without. Apply to all product types. It's pretty much going to be standard, along with input validation for store owner. It's going to be none. The front end properties will change depending on how you want these set up. Quick search will relate to this up here, search the entire store. So if you want that attribute to be searched by the customer, you'll have it set to yes. Advanced search will be as if you want them, once you get into the advanced search and there's several options, most likely this will be yes as well. Typically for quick search, you'll want the SKU, maybe the product name, and maybe some other descriptive attributes, maybe keywords and stuff like that. Comparable on front end. This will be as if you want these to be compared. So if you compare these products here, you'll see there's a few attributes here that are comparing. If you want them to be compared and shown up here, then you would select yes. Otherwise, leave that as no. Using layered navigation. These will only be as if you have a drop-down or multiple select, as it says here. Again, this will show as if you want it to be filtered, if you want it to be using layered results, and stuff like that. So that's why you would need a layered multiple select or drop-down. Promo rules. This means if you're going to use this for some kind of a catalog rule or shopping cart price rule, if you want to 20% off all blue products that have the color blue, something like that. Position in a navigation block. This is where you would set the position. So if you want color to be the top, you would set this as 1, and it would show at the top up here. Allow for HTML tags on the front end. Typically, this will be default as yes. Visible on the product view page on the front end. This will be yes as well, meaning do you want to show up on the product details page? It will just go into here by default. On a product listing page, this would be as if you want it to be shown on, like, say, the category pages. Typically, it's going to be the name, it's going to be the price. Sometimes people want to show their SKU or brand name. So there's only a few. You want to keep those down to a minimum. Lastly, here is the use for sorting in a product listing. On the front end here, you'll see that you can sort by position, name, price, contrast ratio. If you want to add in one here, so say by color, you could put color in here, and it would sort through the color attribute that you set up here in the admin. One more thing to keep in mind too is if you're going to change this to, say, a text area, it's going to ask you is if you want to enable a WYSIWYG. So what you see, what you get editor. If you want yes, you'll have this editor which populates, and you have this kind of Microsoft Word type editor where you can format the text to look how you want. Otherwise, without that, it's just whatever you enter into these attributes. You will not be able to bold it or add bullet points and stuff like that. It'll just be either straight text or HTML code that is brought in through an import or a copy paste. Lastly is the attributes. Let's say you did do the multiple select, manage label and options. The admin, each attribute will need an admin title, meaning short description, however you want these to show up in the back end for yourself to be able to know how to manage these. So color, you're just probably going to leave it as color. Here on the front end, say these get, you want manufacturer item number, there's no spacing. This would be like a code, or you can put it something like manufacturer item number, something like that. This is only shown on an import file or internally within the code. Whereas a label is what would show in the back end. So you would have manufacturer item number, and then that would display like this. And then also these are for, don't worry about the French or the German. These are, if you have language packs, you would put in the translation for each of those. So this most likely is what would display on the front end. So let's just go back to the color example. And this would display here as color and whatever option that you set in that value. But if you're going to have it as a drop down or multiple select, that's where these would come in. You would put your options of blue, green, red, whatever you would specify in there. And this is the options that would come in. You can set one as default, and that's how they will always go. So as a drop down, let's see if there's one in here. Manufacturer. So here, these are the pre-populated values for those. So here's a drop down, it can only be one. Whereas a multiple select, I'm not sure if there's one set up here. You would be able to select Dell, Acer, Apple, AT&T. You'd be able to select multiple ones. So that's where these values will come into play. Blue, green, red. Once you save that, you will be able to go into the product detail level in the admin and add the color that you so wish. Lastly, with the attributes, there are attribute sets. And attribute sets here are a breakdown of possibly different product groupings. So you see here, there's cameras, cell phones, computers, CPUs, furniture, hard drives. What these are good for is if you have a very diverse set of products. Whereas, let's say for example, a computer might have, um, might have a hard drive, whereas a monitor will probably not have a hard drive. So you would not need that attribute within the monitor's attribute. Or T-shirts might have material, whereas a cell phone most likely would not have a material, etc. So you can really organize these to however your catalog will be set up. It really helps out going forward, so you don't have, when you're trying to set up a T-shirt, a product, you will not have processor speed in there. You will not have monitor size, resolution, because those are not needed for T-shirts, shoes, stuff like that. So you can organize these, drag and drop them into however you want. So here for computers, you'll see how they are set up. So for example, hard drive speed, you want to drop that into the general tab, just drag it over, megapixels. You can add new groups. So if you wanted to have computer details, you can set those all up. Shape, finish, and then in here, that would just be another tab, computer details, over here. And it would only show up for the computer's attribute. It would not show up under shoes or cell phones or anything like that. So that's just a quick run through on how attributes work and how they're set up through the Magento admin. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me, and I'd be more than happy to assist you further. Thanks.